6/2019. Review of work session discussion meeting minutes.
I had no corrections.
I didn't either. Good. All right. We'll move to department head report. Tim?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good.
That's
Good now. I want to hear your presentation.
I have 3 items actually just to touch base on. One is, I believe Wayne dropped off this morning. We talked about last week the POs for the marketing for tourism. And I just want to stress the time sensitivity to those in order for us to get the commercials out for April, which is what we're aiming for. So without losing spots, so you can take a look at those. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me on that. The second is in relationship to our audit. I'm recommending that we move forward. Let me backtrack a second. Last week after the meeting, I did send you both proposals as well as legals for the 2 CPA firms that would be interested in doing this. I'm recommending Michael Pueller out of Cranberry Township. Michael has been doing this since 2005. He currently has been working with Butler, Mercer, and Adams County since 2013. He's definitely well versed with hotel room tax compliance and auditing. He trains, he testifies, he drafts for ordinances and all that type of stuff, so he's very intimate with this part of what we do. His rate was $65 an hour, Cottrell was at $90. So based on his background, his experience, his rate, I am asking for approval to engage with him to start the process, which more likely won't begin until May based on some commitments he has right now through tax season in April with some other clients that he deals with. Do you have any questions about that one?
I'm good.
I'm in favor of an audit, and I know you mentioned about a spot audit. I'm in favor of a full audit.
Okay. Well, the first is going to be compliance, and he's going to come back and say, you have some issues here, you might want to look at these, and then we can engage him in a full
When was the last
gap.
time that was audited?
2008, the controllers did 2 hotels. 2007, one was done by an outside audit firm. And so there hasn't been anything done since that time.
How many will he do this time?
That'll be up for us to decide.
Okay.
Based on, and again, I think there'll be some ones that'll be fairly obvious. I can't say exactly the specific number, but we can assess those and make that decision on that point of it once we know a little more concretely what he finds and doesn't find.
When are we going to make this decision? We keep putting it on.
Well, make him, to engage him now, and then he'll start in May, and he'll come back sometime this summer with who we're going to go
I'm
with.
for engaging him now.
I am too.
Thank you so much on that. The final piece I have is to talk to you about a proposal that was also sent over. We, let me sit down here. We have developed a new website for tourism, and what we're proposing now is outside the original scope of that. So it's kind of the next step that has to go on, and that's it's Windows is configuring, Kevin. I don't know what happened, but I got a Windows update right now, so I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to get to. So it's 30% complete at this point. Maybe we can come back to this while this is doing it, if that's okay? Mm-hmm. All right, I think we'll come back while this kind of resets itself. So I'm done.
You're done? Any other department head report? All right. Hearing none. Solicitor's report.
To sort of piggyback on Tim, the park-in, which is, I believe is now the Ramada in Big Beaver, they were the ones who hadn't submitted a payment for an extended period of time. We just received a check from them for $58,000. That was through October, so there's a little bit more money out there that we're looking to see, figure out sort of where the October through February is. But we did get a check last week for $58,000 from them. And we did check into our hotel tax ordinance and compared it to the Center County one, and ours aligns with what Center County has, so we don't need to do any revisions to our current tax ordinance. Dan Colville sent over yesterday, or this morning, to the 3 of you notice of Duquesne Light down in Brady's Run. They're going to be doing, as part of sort of their update, they're going to put in new utility poles with higher voltage lines. And just as a sort of heads up, this is going to be in and around Brady's Run starting over the next couple months. There's an agreement for the county to sign I think we're all right with Dan signing it. All it basically is just as an acknowledgement that they're going to be out there doing this work. They're going to be doing it on their right-of-ways. The only other issue that's sort of out there is they would like to park their vehicles across from the Four Seasons Pavilion. I don't know if we have any position or what our position would be regarding that, if there's any concerns.
Near the rocks, I would assume.
Right, that's
away
the
from the playground.
Correct.
About how many trucks are they going to be staying, or is it just through this process that it's like maybe 3 trucks?
I can get the answers to that. I'm just going off of what Dan's email. All his email said is they also asked if they could use the large parking area across from the Four Seasons shelter to park their trucks overnight. And they would do that, they said, with the exception of the Maple Syrup Festival and Trial Weekend.
Good point. I don't have a problem with that.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Also concerning Brady's Run, if you recall, last year we were approached by PennDOT about them doing work on the road itself. It currently is down to 1 lane across from the road that goes up to the baseball and softball fields. That is scheduled to be work done in 2019. However, there's a little bit of a snafu. They're limited into cutting trees down up until March 31st. After March 31st, because there's endangered bats in some of those trees in that area, they will not be allowed to cut down any trees from April until November. So they're trying to see if they can get a company out there to cut the trees down in March. If they do, that project is planned to be done in June. If they can't do that, then it's not looking like this project would be done until 2020.
So the road will stay 1 lane until 2020.
Right. So should know by the end of the month how that's going to play out. And then the other issue is an update on the roof. Yesterday, Commissioner Camp and myself met with an entity who talked about a program called a Guaranteed Energy Savings Program. This is a state program that, in this situation, would allow us to repair the roof and ideally use cost savings that we could implement with various infrastructure improvement, whether it be lighting, whether it be water usage in some of the urinals and toilets. Those savings then could be utilized in order to help facilitate the upgrades to both the roof and some of the other infrastructure here within the county. This program is utilized a lot throughout the state. A lot of school districts use it. That's how we became aware of it. And at the end of the day, it would basically be a cost neutral for the county. And what I mean by that is they would come in and guarantee savings. The savings that you otherwise would be paying to, say, your gas bill or your electric bill, those savings then could be utilized to pay for whatever the cost of the improvements would be. The proposal would be initially to put out an RFQ for this. This would potentially accomplish 2 things for us. One, the PFM report wants us, or suggests that we do a facilities assessment. We were talking to them about that, and they said with their project, they're basically going to be doing a facility assessment anyways, that they could incorporate some of the other things that otherwise wouldn't be included into theirs, into that facility assessment. So rather than doing an assessment on just the energy efficiency of the building and doing a separate condition assessment, we can combine that into one to do it underneath one instead of running it out under 2 different ways. And then at the end of the day, what we'll be looking at is hopefully a energy savings that would ultimately pay for itself regarding fixing the roof. So the next step, if we wanted to continue to explore this, would be to put out an RFQ to get submittals from companies to come in and do their assessment, and then go from there to see if this is a project that we want to move forward with.
And when you discuss energy savings, they will give us a number on paper. I'm just going to use hypothetical numbers. You're going to save $300,000 on your electric bill in this building for the year of 2020, let's say. And if we only save $200,000, they will cut a check to us for $100,000.
Yeah, with their proposals, what they'll do is that they guarantee that you're going to save X amount of dollars, and if you don't reach those savings, then they make up the difference.
Are they going to change fixtures,
Mhm.
and that's gonna be inclusive of the cost?
Correct.
Okay.
They reached out to us after they knew we were looking at getting a roof. We called them in. It was a short meeting, but they're willing to come back and speak to the board as well. But at the time, it was just Garen and I and two representatives from Constellation Energy.
Yeah.
They came in. I think they came in.
They came in
2 years
previously,
ago
yeah,
or
last
so.
year.
16.
Yeah.
The other thing that they said that they could do in the interim because of the situation of our roof is if it was the blessing, send someone up there right now just to get an overview of what's going on with the roof. I know we have the current proposal right now, but they're saying there might even be a real temporary patch job that we can do for half the cost of what we're seeing there in order to sort of buy us time. We're basically, what they were saying is that we're at the end of the line on our roof. The roof was put up in 2001.
What year was it built? 2001. Yeah,
So what they said, generally speaking, you're looking at about a 20-year period for that roof. So rather than just putting an expensive patchwork on it, we can put a very generic patchwork on it and then look to do the big project through this energy savings program.
They're an energy company, right? They're in the energy business.
No, they don't sell any type of energy.
Or they're the middleman.
They don't have anything to do with any sale of any type of utility or any type of power. They come in and essentially they would serve as the general contractor in a way for the project. So they would come in, they would analyze our electric usage, they would analyze our water usage, they would analyze what we pay, and from there they would make calculations based on what they think if we would have certain upgrades to our facilities, savings that we ultimately would save in paying Duquesne Light or paying Columbia Gas in our utility bills.
I would like to have a meeting with them.
Can we schedule? Does that have to be, Garen? Does that have to be? Can it be an informal meeting?
Well, I guess there's. We certainly can meet with them again. They indicated that they would meet with whoever would want to meet. The second question is, do we want to start the process of putting together an RFQ just to get that ball rolling? If we want to hold off until we meet with them, that's fine.
This has to go out for RFQ for them because they're Act 39, correct? Is that
Yeah,
right?
under the Energy Savings Act, we're required to put out the RFQ in order to solicit qualifications from bidders.
Even though it's a professional service.
Yeah, at the end of the
Still-
day, you guys could choose who you would want to, what company you would want to use. But under the Energy Savings Program, the RFQ would be required.
Yeah, good.
You want to schedule?
I'm
Start
okay
work.
with the RFP going out because I think that if we do go, we've got to have our roofs leaking.
Right,
I mean,
right.
at the end of the day, our roofs leaking.
I think ultimately they don't really do anything with the roof, or they don't do anything with that, but they'll look at the cooling towers and
Well-
say, you might need 3 new units up there.
It's where the units are attached to
Yeah.
the roof. It's where the flashing is attached to the
Right.
roof.
And I think they see this a lot in school districts such as New Brighton. It's
Mhm.
probably the most recent one.
Yeah, they've done this in Amber, they're
They're in
looking at doing it in
Rochester.
Rochester.
Aliquippa, they're
Yeah.
meeting, yeah. So that they find ways to pay for other things that need covered through their energy savings.
Mhm.
So.
And the big thing to stress is, once again, it's a revenue neutral, because money that you otherwise would be paying to the utility companies, those savings are essentially what you're paying for whatever project it is that you're fixing and the upgrades that you're doing.
What's in it for them?
But I honestly, I don't know the answer to that. There's obviously something. We could ask them.
Okay.
The only other matter is an executive session matter regarding a personnel issue.
Okay.
Any questions for the solicitor? Go back. You ready?
Yeah.
We'll go back to you.
Think so? Yes. Thanks. Just backtrack again. So we've developed our tourism's new website, and it's been live really since the end of last year, near Christmas. And we're working through all the particular aspects of the scope, and we're in the high 90 percentile with those all being done at this point in time. The large portion of what we, in addition to having a lot more abilities to expand from our previous website, one of our main focuses was to make our website experiential. There was a new technology that came out that basically takes still photographs, which this was originally a still photograph, make it 3D in nature, and then it's called parallax, which actually adds movement to that. So you'll see guns raising up and down, you'll see snowflakes moving, you'll see skies coming out. We're one of the few that are using this right now. So it's, again, we saw it as a unique opportunity to kind of grab people's attention as they came to our website to that. And because it wasn't part of the original scope, there's a new contract that I have out that I've sent over for review that would allow us to create 50 images. They're about $200 an image to create, is what they are. Our goal with doing those 200 images is to give us something that's content relevant at any point in time of the year that we can actually put up there. So we have spring stuff, summer stuff, fall stuff, winter stuff, depending on a major event going on. We have those type of things that can grab that attention more than just what a still photograph would do. So when you take a look at this particular piece, right here, again, you can get some sense, and if you've been on the website, you can see that. The next one here, I believe, is the snow shovel, or the cabin. You can see the snowflakes moving. It kind of pans, gives you an idea of a winter shot. Come over here to the snow shovel contest. Again, it looks like they're coming down the hill and having a good time. Get a tranquil picture of the lake. Again,
What year was that?
What's that?
What year was that?
They were crossed. They were
It
crossed.
wasn't 19.
Year you were elected.
Ouch, that hurt. But again, you can see the muskets coming up and the fire. Again, it sets, that hook that kind of draws you in, and then you can come in and find your event if you want to come down and do events and kind of move on to that type of stuff. So we currently have a lot of still photos, but they're just stills, just like they are right now. They don't they send an image, but that movement kind of grabs you. And again, it's some of the newest technology that's out, and we've incorporated that into the design of our website. So in order to grab another 200 or another 50 photos, which will give us, and it'll be something we'll be adding to, but this is just the front load to be able to get us up and going. As new things happen, we keep it fresh. We'll add a few photos every year, but this is a contract that we're buying them in groups of 10. And if you take a look at the proposal, you'll see that spread out along that payment. It's a $10,000 total purchase in pictures is what it ends up being. But right now, it'll take us 19 to move our way through this, because obviously we can't force seasons upon us to take pictures and then use them when they come. But for the stuff we've gathered last year, we'll start adding that stuff. We'll grab more photos this year so we can continue to keep an inventory and library that will allow us to, again, stay creative and eye-catching. So, you have any questions about this outside item? There is a proposal from Pacer, which is our web hosting company, that we're working with, help design the website, and they would be the company that would be putting these together for us.
Have you migrated from spots and dots?
Mm-hmm. We're done.
The process is complete?
Yeah, we're finished with that.
Are you keeping track of how many hits that you're getting on the website?
We get monthly reports.
And where are you at on that?
I just got the report yesterday, and I didn't really scan it all that tight yet, but I want to say it was over, I don't want to misstate. I can forward you the report. I'll just do that right there. I know it's thousands, but I can't tell you what the number is off the top of my head without looking at that.
I would be interested in that, because I think that to know the statistics on that, whether they're residents of Beaver County looking at your website or out-of-town people, would kind of sway me in the direction of your advertising in the 200-mile radius that you seem to have that zone in. I don't see Beaver County being a tourist destination unless you're having a festival of some sort. Not everybody packs their bags and drives to Beaver County.
We have historically been event-driven. Yes, that's the majority of what we've had. We don't obviously have big features of what Pittsburgh has to offer in regards to those amenities.
Right.
But yes, I know that data is there, and I can tell you they're not every state, but they're, as far as California, Washington State, Florida, up and down the East Coast. It's heavily concentrated in the Pittsburgh, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, Ohio region, which is the majority of that.
Right.
You have some New York and some things along those lines. But that data is there. I know it's about an 11-page report. We get it on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I'd like to see that, because that may sway my decision, because that marketing is costly. I saw the price
Sure.
tag on it. That was $60,000 every quarter.
Well, for the first two, then the final's 30, yes. Yeah,
That's
we don't
a
do
lot of
anything in the
money.
first quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
and-
Well, you know, and you know this, I probably can tell you this, I mean, the role of the department is to put best face of the county out to draw people in. And they're trying to, it's kind of like fundraising, it's trying to determine who will give you what, or whether they'll visit you or not. You don't know what their interests are, but the approaches have been based on the data we've gathered to market in areas in which we're drawing people to do those type of things. So we're not, prior to me starting here, I don't believe it was that surgical in its approach. So now we have much more focused attempts on where we want to put our dollars. We know the results of the shows and where those ads will run in regards to the viewership and the markets that they draw from and the demographics they hit. And it's all woven together to kind of go down that path in regards to it. So it's very conscious in regards to what we're trying to do along those lines. So
Is this very cost effective?
yes, tremendously so.
I mean, is this going to bring thousands of people here that you're moving?
It's already bringing, I mean, I can just show you the economic reports that are there in regards to data. Our vendors, our attractions are not the greatest in tracking the number of people that come in from one year to the next. That's a true weakness that they have. So that was one of the challenges of trying to get them just to simply share with us on History Weekend where people come from. And the majority of them never gathered zip code data or even inquired per our request, so we can understand that what we've marketed made sense along those lines. So, you know, it's a challenge. I mean, the hotels share where people are coming from. You know, there are a handful of the bigger ones that do a better job, but the smaller ones not so much along those lines. But this is, again, in here, this coupled with our Facebook page, because our marketing efforts are really aimed at pushing people to come to this website to get way more data than we can put out, like I said last week, in a 5, 10, or 30-second spot. So the intent is to push them to come here, and then we watch our likes go up, which when I started 5 years ago, we were at 2,900 likes. Now we're almost 32,000 likes in regards to, we are an information source for people, whether they're local or outside, want to know what's going on. And usually we see it kind of go flat in the first quarter of the year, and then when the Maple Syrup Festival comes on, then we start to see our rise, and it kind of, and the final goes out. That's why we market the way we market. We have activity being event driven. That's what's pushing us to do those type of things and get out there. You know, I know they're being seen because I can tell you my peers, when I go to meetings, they tell me how sick they are of seeing our ads, which is a good thing because we're out there, we're being noticed, and that, you know, we're going out. So over 900 commercials will be aired in the April through June window in the markets that I shared with you last week. On top of, we're still pushing our Facebook posts out, our promoted posts and things along those lines, which is where it's very cost effective to do it on that social platform to leverage that side of it. So there's not one strategy that does the whole thing. It's a combination of things that we're doing. And where we spend our dollars, you know, where we recommend spending our dollars. And that's kind of how we put our spending proposals together on an annual basis. Being that most of our dollars have to be spent in marketing, that's why we put a good chunk of our budget towards it.
No, my point was, wouldn't it be cheaper to rent the costumes and film it again? Actually making the pictures move? I mean, actually, the Revolutionary War soldiers were a motley looking group. Those guys are dressed like they're almost British, if it wasn't for the blue coats.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that is from the Maple Syrup Festival when they do the reenactment.
Yes, it is.
I mean, so you could get those guys to...
And you know, once we capture that photo, that $200 is spent, we own it. Now we can just reuse it 100 times or forever in regards to it, rather than a video is more expensive than this particular situation. But you know, we want to do those, we want to leverage and grow our YouTube channel and put more video or 10, 20, 30-second vignettes up on that. But again, it's all moving in one direction, so people get a chance to see the event from a visual standpoint through maybe a small YouTube video, come to the website, see the date something's going on. It's all about getting them hooked and drawing them in and then bringing them to the event along those lines. Hopefully that is more answering your question in regards to $200 for a picture that we can use many years in a row versus a video that, again, we can, if it's longer, we'll live on YouTube for a long time as well too. But it's going to be more money to do the video than this at this point.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to Board of Commissioners reports. Anybody want to go first?
You
I don't have
any?
I have just two things. First, I'd like to make an announcement on behalf of Doreen in the Elections Office and Judge Mancini. Effective Monday, March 4th, the members of the County Board of Elections will be Judge James J. Ross, Judge Dale M. Faust, and Judge Deborah Lancos de Castro. Is that correct? So effective this past Monday, 2 days ago, they are the new Board of Elections for the 2019 election. Tim, with the tents and chairs, I've only got, Cindy provided me with some information from Geneva College. It looks like a 40 by 40 tent is $860 with some fees for tables and chairs. They're really not that much. And I only got one response that had been from T&P Rentals in Center Township for a 40 by 40 tent that seats 150 people with 150 chairs and tables for that. It's $770 total.
The tables and chairs are included with our rate?
So I'm going to wait back to hear from a couple others because
Okay.
I do have calls in. So hopefully next week, or I can at least continue to provide that information to you. And if that's the way the board wants to go, and you need help looking for some sponsors,
Okay.
we'll help you. Because I think seating's. I know we'll get some. What would you call them? Squatters last time, but to have those seats, it's. I think it's important for some of the people to come.
To put my thinking cap on and figure out where the tents go and kind of
Yeah,
drop them in.
that will, and it'll fill up the area a little bit better too.
Oh, it'll fill it.
How many do you think you need?
I don't know. That was going to be my next question. Is do you think we need 2 of them, or
I mean, last year we had almost 6,000 people move out there throughout the 8-hour event. So, I mean, I don't think it's like a treadmill. You can need one at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you need 40 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
There's no right answer to that one. I think the more you have, the more opportunity you have for people to be comfortable, but you're not going to be able to have enough for everybody.
yeah?
So, I mean, if it were me,
At
I'd
least
say,
have enough for the senior
I'd
citizens.
look at 2 as being what I would go for, potentially 300 seating. That would be my recommendation. That's what I was looking at last year, was trying to figure out 2 on where we would drop them.
All right. Well, once I hear back from the other ones, I'll let you know.
And the reason I said finding the tents, just so you were 2, is we're adding 5 more food trucks. So in doing that, that's taking up space. So I'm just trying to figure out how I can configure that. So I just got to walk the grounds once the weather breaks and take the measuring wheel and start to figure out what makes sense.
Okay.
Got to go from there.
Sounds good. I don't have anything else.
I read in the paper that we're getting a canine. And I was wondering who at the table
Is that how the article?
knew that.
I don't know the article, but I know the sheriff's department
They
has
have a canine,
well, they currently have a canine. They've approached us about a grant that they applied for with the Roethlisberger Foundation to try to get a second canine. And they've asked us to put together a lease that they could utilize for that canine.
Us meaning the law department.
The law department,
Okay,
correct,
so,
right. So,
But why does the county government need another canine? Don't get me wrong, I am 100% supportive, and I believe that you and I were both quoted as saying that, supportive of canines, but at the municipal level. And the reason being is that the municipalities have investigative powers, the sheriff does not. When I saw that in the paper, it's like I am being informed of what's happening under this roof by a paper.
I misread the article. I thought the article read that they received a grant for their canine. Because they received this grant before, correct? They received
I
the
can't
veteran
answer
spur
that.
grant, I think, before.
I know that the sheriff is, at this point, we don't have the lease prepared or agreed to. It ultimately is going to come before you guys, and the sheriff said he would come to that meeting in order to discuss it with you whenever that's ultimately put on as a resolution.
Is this for the grant?
It's with the Roethlisberger Foundation, a $10,000 grant is mine.
They received it.
I believe they received, I know they applied for it, I believe they received it.
Yes.
I guess the answer is no.
In
I
what,
thought it was for the canine that we have currently.
Okay.
and it's my understanding if they don't get the second K-9, they would just let the grant know we don't want to accept it.
I wish the sheriff would have come to us and had that discussion. And I believe that one of the deputies downstairs owns a canine training school, which may have been the push for something like this.
Would you hear more, Garen?
Yeah, once we get whenever we were speaking with the sheriff about it, he indicated he would come to the meeting in order to discuss it with you guys.
I will look forward to that.
Once we get the lease, we'll have it listed as a resolution and let you guys know.
Anything else?
No.
Okay, I'm good. Any other business? Hearing none. Audience participation.
I've got a lot of participating to do.
Real
Real
quick.
quick.
See if anyone wants to go before you.
I'm going to try to go through these real quick.
Are you,
First off, with the tourism department. The tourism department spends thousands of dollars a year with the Beaver County Times advertising events to promote it to people in the area. It now, we hear, is going to spend $100,000 promoting those events on television. We've spent thousands of dollars promoting events in Times Square in New York City. To give an idea, now we're going to spend $10,000 on pretty moving pictures, apparently. The Beaver Countyan, for years, has published every event that has been promoted by the tourism department. I can tell you my traffic stats, the visits to those events were being read by tens of thousands of people a month. We're finding out about county events from our site. We didn't charge the county a penny because I don't believe it's appropriate for me to have a contract with the county given that we cover the county so extensively. We did it for free. It cost nothing. When the tourism department came out with its new website, it is now using proprietary technology instead of the more open, standardized technologies you used in the past, which shut off our ability to pull those events. So since that new site came out, we've not been promoting any events. I've approached the director about this. He tells me today that it's not been a big priority for him to get that turned back on, and he tells me it's now sitting in the law department. So apparently the priority, instead of having tens of thousands of Beaver Countyans being informed about these events free of charge, where our priority are moving pictures to a website that, with all due respect, very few people in comparison visit. So I would ask for the board's cooperation and help in allowing us to bring back that free community service that we were providing to residents to get informed about events. I've gotten dozens and dozens of emails complaining about the events not being on there anymore, phone calls and text messages and messages on Facebook. It was, I would submit to you, the #1 way people in this county learned about events that were going on in this county. So as much as we spend all of this money and all of this time as a county on all of these other ways of promotion, you took the #1 source, which was free, and you cut it off. So I would ask that you allow us to continue to provide that free service to the people on behalf of the tourism department. So that's #1.
I'd like to answer that. I would be in favor of that.
Well, I guess to give you information, Mr. Ishman did let us know about this issue being out there, and we looked into it, and it's not that we cut off anything, it's that we changed the way our website operates. That's my understanding. And so your website not being able to access that was not an intended consequence, it just was a consequence. So then we were approached and said, John Paul wants to skim that information off our site, and so we did an analysis and asked the people that in the appropriate departments about, namely IT, if that is okay to do. Would that put the website at risk? Would that type of thing? And we were advised that it would not be recommended to do it that way.
By who? Who said that?
Mr. Tussett.
I have to clarify that. What I said was the company they use to host the website is not in the county, not in the county data center. I said I can't speak for what the impact would be of pulling information. I said provided that information can be done, it needs to be done for Pacer. Pacer has a data center. Pacer has that website in their data center. It's no tie to the county.
Oh, right.
I can't speak if them pulling information has any impact on their website because it's not in our data center hosted by us. When it used to be on our side, you pull the information, that was fine.
Look into it and see.
Now that it's not on our side, I can't say for sure.
And just Kevin, to be clear, we're talking about an iCal feed or an RSS feed here, which is used by hundreds of millions of websites at least. So this isn't like some novel thing that we were doing here. I mean, the county's website before had iCal and RSS feeds available. We pulled them. It was throttled. It had no impact on anything. Hundreds of millions of websites use it. The new system is extremely proprietary compared to that. It does not use the same open technologies. And we can hear today that this new company the county came with is coming up with all sorts of ways to bill us all sorts of money for new and novel things, now that they've gone to a very proprietary system. And I would suggest that, or submit that perhaps that those two, there's a correlation between the fact that we're now moving to proprietary technologies and they're making all sorts of billing opportunities available to the county now as well.
So I think Nate made a good point. Nothing was intentional, but the second question now becomes is if we go to Pacers and request this, do they have the right to say no?
Well, they can certainly give you their opinion on if it jeopardizes or if they have any concerns with it. And we can do that. We can reach out to Pacer to find out.
I don't want to speak out of turn. I know that we have reached out to Pacer. We did look into this, and they did not recommend that.
But they recommend the county spend $10,000 with them to make moving images.
We'll reach back out. Obviously it's a asset to the county to get people to our events, and let us look into it and let's work together as opposed to.
I heard nothing back.
When did you ask?
I don't have the exact date, but it's been some time.
Yesterday?
No, it's been some time. All right, the other thing I have is this canine issue. The sheriff actually was part of a press release basically accepting and thanking the organization for the money. So this isn't something that is, I got a press release at the Times. I did an article because they got a press release. So the sheriff actually gave comments to the press about receiving this grant. My understanding was that the board had to approve any application of a grant because it involves money, because I believe this issue came up 2 years ago. And the board decided they did not want to approve the sheriff going to get an initial grant because the board decided they did not want the sheriff to have additional dogs. So apparently, I don't know how that, is anyone aware of how that grant was applied for?
I don't. I just know at the end of the day, any type of, whenever it officially, a lease agreement is put together, it is going to come in front of the board and ultimately for the board to make a decision if they want to move forward with it.
Given that the board has previously stated it is not in favor of this, why would the law department spend the time to draft up a lease before talking about to the board as to whether or not they would be in favor of that?
There's a lot of issues that come up that ultimately come from department heads that we work on, and it's put together as a resolution before this board to make a decision on.
But this board's previously decided they're not in favor of that. But the law department's going to invest time working on something that the board has already said no to. Does that happen frequently?
I wasn't here whenever the board said no to that, so I can't answer that.
In April 2016, the Beaver County ran an article that the Beaver County Sheriff's Canine Fund, we did a right to know request for financials, and the response was no records existed. That the county had no record of how tens of thousands of dollars that was received by the Canine Fund had been spent. Since that time, has the county come up with any sort of accounting for that money and how it was spent?
No, not that I know of. Do you know of anything?
And to my knowledge, the same people that were running the Canine Fund were also running a for-profit business and using the same dogs that they used for county services for private financial gain, providing private security services as well. Is that correct?
Well, and this is deja vu. This is why we did that in the very first place in 2016. That's the way my memory serves me. So that's why when I read it in the paper, I brought it up here. I didn't get a press release. I didn't sign off on a grant.
Does the county know who the handler of the new dog would be?
I don't know.
The information I have from sourcing is it would be Jim Brown. Does anyone have that sound familiar to anyone?
I know his name, and he was involved in the last one. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
The Beaver County Sheriff's Canine Fund, I've got photos of Jim Brown, the deputy, holding a large check from Frank Catropa for money that was donated to the Beaver County Sheriff's Canine Fund that the board just says they still to this day have no financial accountability for. Frank Catropa also donated at least $17,000 to the Aliquippa Police Department Canine Fund to Jim Brown Jr., Deputy Brown's son. Frank Catropa's brother was recently convicted of drug dealing. And Frank Catropa is currently the subject of a grand jury investigation. Does the board have any concerns as to the appearance that creates?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. You guys want to speak up?
I don't think this has anything to do, this has something to do with the Ben Roethlisberger Foundation. We don't have any knowledge of what the sheriff plans on doing, who the dog is, who the handler is. So until we get any kind of information on that to the board.
Commissioner Camp, you received a $1,000 donation at least from Frank Catropa, correct?
Yes, that's on my campaign expense report.
All right, I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Any other audience participation?
I just have a question about Mr. Ishman's presentation. Because you're a government entity, does that prohibit you from being able to solicit advertising for that page? That would offset the cost of what you're trying to achieve?
As a matter of fact, I believe Tim Ishman has announced that you can advertise for free on the tourism site at no cost.
I mean, like at Duke College or CCBC,
If you have
to buy space on that to help offset the cost, would you be able to do that?
Are you saying about buying an ad, or are you talking about promoting an event?
Buying an ad.
Yeah, we don't have a policy countywide in regards to how we would do that. I had to defer to legal in regards to what ramifications there may be, but as a revenue generating opportunities, I mean, I think that in my peers who are membership based sell advertising on their sites and their information in regards to their newsletters and things that they do. We used to, back in the day when we were membership driven, people paid for print advertising in our visitors guide. So I don't know why, just off the top of my head, without anything to back it up, would be why, whether it be print or digital, it would be any different.
Any other audience participation? Hearing no one, we need to reconvene after executive session. We'll move into executive session, not reconvene. Thank you.